Welcome to Coming Home to Yourself, the podcast for high achieving women ready to lead from within. I'm Yagoda, and here we dive into real conversations about confidence, clarity, and emotional freedom. Each week, I'll share honest stories, gentle insights, and soul deep shifts to help you reconnect with the woman beneath the roles. This is your space to slow down, breathe, and exhale, to stop performing strength and start living your truth, to remember who you are beneath it all. Let's begin. Welcome back to Coming Home to Yourself. Today's episode is a personal one that might land in your chest like it did in mine. Because I want to talk about confidence, but not the loud kind, not the scripted kind, not the power stance and the polished voice. I want to talk about the kind of confidence that's actually a costume. And what happens when we try to wear it for far too long. This episode is about the silent tool of keeping up that image. It's about the version of confidence we perform but don't actually feel. And we're going to dive into why we lose ourselves in the process, the trap of trying to think our way into it, and what it actually feels like to find it again. And we're going to talk about how to finally take the costume off. Ever had that feeling that before a meeting, before an interview, before a family gathering even, you have to suit up? The right outfit, the polished answer, the perfect words, and the smile that says, I'm okay. And that's a costume. And for so long, I thought confidence was a costume you put on. And for a long time, I wore it as well. I knew exactly how to sound, just humble enough to seem relatable, but confident enough to be taken seriously. I knew how to hold eye contact. I knew how to say the right things. And everyone thought I had it together because it looked like I did. But inside, I felt like I was borrowing someone else's clothes. Like I had memorized a script, but never believed the character. I could feel how far I drift from the girl I actually was. I was bullied in school, primary school, not for something I did, but just for who I was. My name, my energy, my presence. Kids can be brutal with what they don't understand. And I remember thinking, okay, if I can't be liked, I'll be strong. I didn't feel confident. I felt stubborn. I decided no one would ever see how much it hurt. I wouldn't give them the satisfaction. And there was the moment I put on the costume, and I wore it for years. And not because I was confident, but because I was scared of what would happen if I wasn't. And I realized my confidence was a costume when I felt so disconnected from it. The performance was exhausting, and the woman underneath was tired. She was getting lost. I tried to fix it the way I'd been taught to fix everything else, by trying to think my way into confidence. I read books, I wrote affirmations, I took the course. I knew all the theories. I could coach someone else. And I could easily do it with my eyes closed. And I knew I was worthy. I just didn't feel it. And honestly, that made me feel even more lost. This disconnect showed up in my body, in meetings. My voice would still tremble when I asked for what I needed. My chest would still tighten in spaces where I felt unseen. I'd leave conversations replaying every word, wondering if I said too much, took up too much space, or missed a cue to shrink. And this is the trap of the mental growth without emotional safety. The kind of healing that looks perfect on Instagram but feels hollow in your actual body. We try to think our way into confidence, but our nervous system doesn't buy it, and so we override it. We suppress, we perform, until the woman underneath the costume starts disappearing. So let me ask you this. What's your version of the costume? Is it over preparing every word before you speak? Is it smiling where you're actually tired? Is it holding back your opinion to avoid being too much? Where are you performing strength instead of living in it? For me, the real shift started when I noticed that even though I knew I was worthy, I didn't feel it. It's one thing to know your worth. It's another to feel safe enough to embody it. And real confidence is different. It's not loud. It's not polished. It doesn't always make sense. Sometimes real confidence is the breath that returns when you say no. It's the stillness when you stop explaining yourself. The quiet moment you choose to stay soft in a world that wants you sharp. The day I felt confident again didn't feel like a breakthrough. It felt like not apologizing for needing space. It felt like a deep exhale, a moment of peace, not a victory. Confidence doesn't come from one breakthrough. It's not a TED Talk moment. It's not a power pose in the mirror. It comes from repetition, from the slow, gritty, invisible practice of choosing yourself again and again, even when no one claps. And real confidence comes back in tiny, messy, non-linear ways. You just say no. You cry after. And then the next time you again say no, but you don't cry. You set boundary and it feels awkward. Then you set another and it feels a little less so. If this is landing for you, hit that subscribe button so we can keep having these conversations together. And if someone's face came to mind while you were listening, send it her way. She might need it more than you know. And this is what the real rebuild looks like. It's the slow returning kind of healing that doesn't get claps. It doesn't look like a breakthrough, and that's okay. It looks like you coming back to your feet. It's the quiet stages of rebuilding. And a relapse into old patterns doesn't mean you're failing. It just means you're human. And when doing that, I knew I was changing, even when nothing looked different yet, because my body was different. I was still scared, but my chest wasn't tight. I was still learning, but my voice wasn't shaking. I felt safe in my own skin again, not because of what I did, but because of who I was being. I was recently on a 3-day intensive, and one of the trainers gave us such a great comparison of our inner and outer world to a bamboo plant. You know how bamboo is? You plant the seed and and you water it and you wait. And for the first year, you see nothing. The second year, nothing. The third, nothing. It's growing for years underneath the ground, building a deep, solid root system that you can't see. And then, once those roots are strong, it makes an enormous leap in growth, shooting up to 80 feet in just a few weeks. And our growth is the same. When we start working on ourselves, whether it's confidence, money, or something else, there are usually no immediate results. But with time and persistence, we start changing. At first, those changes are only visible to us on the inside. We feel less clenched, we breathe easier, we stop replaying our words. But after a while, they start to show up on the outside, in our physical world. But to achieve that, you have to be persistent. You have to be determined. You have to stick to making those changes. And that's something most people don't do. You have to repeat the same or similar actions so many times to become confident, to internalize it as an embodied state, not just mental knowing, so that it becomes your default. Most people don't do that and still expect change. And it's like making coffee the same way every day, using the same coffee, the same pot, the same water, the same sugar, and expecting it to be different. It won't be, because you haven't done anything differently. So let this episode be your invitation. A quiet, gentle ask from me to you. What would happen if you committed to removing just one layer of the costume this week? What would shift if you stayed long enough with your new growth, even when no one else sees it, to let it bloom? And if the woman in you who's tired of performing, the one who feels invisible in the mirror even when she's doing everything right, if that woman needs a hand, a mirror, a breath, a guide, I'd be honored to walk alongside her. Your journey matters. The best version of you matters. Thanks for listening to Coming Home to Yourself. If this episode spoke to you, take a moment to subscribe and share it with one woman who needs it. And if you're ready to go deeper, come find me on Instagram or Facebook, because this isn't just a podcast, it's a return to your body, to your breath, to your heart, to your own voice. Your story matters. You matter. See you next time.